Hey there, writer, and welcome back to the Novelist Studio, the home of the AI Creative Writing Academy. I am your host, Anna Del Valle. ChatGPT is the most powerful tool that writers have ever had at their disposal. So, if you're thinking about writing a book, or maybe you've written a book before and it didn't really go anywhere, you want to subscribe and stay tuned. Now, if you have heard a lot of really scary things about ChatGPT, I want you to grab my free ebook that's on the link below, ChatGPT for Creative Writers, the No BS Myth Busting Manifesto, where I debunk all the scary things that you're hearing about ChatGPT. Because, writer, if you are wanting to write a novel, you are going to want to know how to leverage ChatGPT. Welcome to the new golden age of literature. You're just in time. Do you remember when starting a novel meant a blank page and a bottle of wine? Yeah, me too. Maybe you were like, I want to write a novel about a woman who opens up a coffee shop and falls in love with a cult leader. Then you'd stare at your blank screen and the cursor for 3 days, wondering what chapter one was going to be about. Or worse, you'd get some advice about writing a discovery draft. I mean, talk about wasting time and losing momentum. Or you try the old manual way of outlining a beat sheet, save the cat style, right? You're just going to start writing in things that you think are going to happen and maybe some tentpole scenes in there. And while this was better than discovery drafts, it still didn't allow you to see your novel in 3D the way that ChatGPT allows you to do today. In today's tutorial, I am going to show you how to outline your novel the right way with ChatGPT versus the not so good way. Now, I know that there's some tutorials going around, and I know that folks have even typed in ChatGPT, hey, can you outline my novel? Well, I'm going to show you what happens and what the right way to do this is. Let's get started. Okay, writer. So we're going to get started with the demos, and I'm going to show you the very surface level way that folks that are not very acquainted with ChatGPT are using ChatGPT or may use ChatGPT to outline their novel, and then a more robust and rich way to do that outlining with your novel. So we have, and I want to just remind everyone that I am using the paid version of ChatGPT. So if I reference some features that maybe you don't have in your free version, like a project folder, then that's because I have the paid version of ChatGPT. And if you don't have the paid version of ChatGPT and you are a serious writer or a new writer that is just wanting to finally write that novel of your dreams and get it out of your head and onto the page, I cannot stress enough how important it is to have an AI strategy in your creative workflow. So let's get started. Okay, so this is the first novel that we're going to outline here is this novel. It's a women's humorous fiction. It's called Chickens, Chardonnay, and Regret. And the log line, which is basically, if you're a new writer, that is the very first thing you have to come up with. What is this novel about in one line, right? You got to be able to say it in one line. And I remember as a new writer, I used to go to parties and people would ask me like, "Hey, what's your novel about?" And this is during my first book. I would say stuff like, "Oh, it's about this woman and it's based in Louisiana and she has special powers and it's dark fantasy." And I would just it was just like a verbal no, if you know what I mean. And I was never ready with my log line, and I looked like a very unprofessional writer that wasn't taking my writing seriously. So the first thing you need to do as a writer is make sure that you have a one-liner that says exactly what the essence of your story is. So for Chickens, Chardonnay, and Regret, my log line is a newly divorced suburban mom impulsively buys a vineyard and inherits a flock of emotionally unstable therapy chickens, and a grumpy vineyard manager with a man bun and a secret past. I know it sounds kind of bizarre, but it's supposed to be one of those kind of bizarre, funny little books, right? Where you're just laughing all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this entire title and log line, and I'm going to head over to my ChatGPT. And I've actually already set up a project folder to keep all my novels organized in ChatGPT. So if you're not familiar with this, I have a video that I'm going to link in if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening, I do have a episode on how to get organized in ChatGPT, just a couple of quick hacks. So here in my project folders, I have chickens and Chardonnay and regret, right? Already set up for my novel that I'm going to start brainstorming here, right? So that I can keep all my chats organized. So I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to tell ChatGPT, can you help me organize this novel? Or not organize, sorry. I meant, can you help me outline this novel? Okay. And I am going to paste my title and my log line along with a prompt asking ChatGPT to help me outline this novel. So what happens is I'm going to send it in. And if you're new to ChatGPT, you're probably going to be impressed by the output. Okay. But I will tell you a secret. It needs a lot of work. All right. So here we go. Um, it's great, right? I love the format. It's so clean. Oh, the title, Chickens, Chardonnay, and Regret. The genre is women's fiction, romantic comedy. The tone, it even told me the tone. I didn't tell it the tone. It told me what the tone was. Heartfelt, quirky, redemptive. Setting, I didn't tell him what the setting was. It told me the setting. The setting is a ramshackle vineyard in Northern California, wine country. I don't think those exist, but I'd be the first one to buy it. So, anyways, so yeah, it's given me the setting, it's given me all the stuff that I didn't ask about. It wasn't part of my idea, but okay, I'm new to ChatGPT. I'm going, oh my God, this is so cool. I love it. And then check this out. This is the part that blows me away. So it literally gives me three acts: Act One, Act Two, and Act Three. And it calls out the Save the Cat beat sheet. Okay. It literally groups it by the beat sheet. The opening image, the inciting incident, the key setups, um, fun and games, midpoint and growth, the midpoint reveal, the secret past, So the Dark Night of the Soul, it's literally taking Save the Cat framework. I didn't even ask for that. So, as a new writer, I might look at this and go, wow, this is probably the best outline I've ever had in my life. And yeah, probably it's probably better than what you could do very quickly, just manually, right? But it's still not as good. And I'll show you what a good outline looks like in a minute. But let's go through this for a second because I think this is so cool, right? So the opening image, it's giving us the protagonist, Kate Morgan, because we're supposed to set up the status quo, right? Kate Morgan, she's 42, she's freshly divorced, a suburban mom of two. She has shared custody. Okay, Kate is lost in Target. I love the relatability, right? Target, like one of the best things as a writer is to just have a lot of relatable stuff in your novel. So here she is lost in Target wearing yesterday's yoga pants, contemplating freezer dinners and menopause. She's a woman unmoored, her identity as a wife now erased. Okay, so we're looking at this going, wow, this is really good, right? Like, wow, this is I couldn't have come up this detail on my own, right? If I were doing all this manually. And oh, here's the inciting incident. At a wine tasting weekend with college friends, Kate drunkenly wins a bank seized vineyard at a charity auction she didn't mean to bid on, right? And then it has key setups. Um, it has key setups like vineyard is in rough shape, overgrown, underfinanced, and inexplicably includes a contract for a flock of therapy chickens. I know. Can you imagine if those chickens are called like Oprah and Dr. Phil? That would be hilarious. Like I would call my therapy chickens like Dr. Phil and Oprah. Anyway, side note. So, okay, so you're excited. You're like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good, right? But I mean, this is so funny. Check. It has the first pivot, fish out of Chardonnay. It has the chickens are insane. One bites, one has PTSD, and one keeps trying to hatch wine corks. I mean, it's funny. It's funny. It's got a lot of great stuff. But, could you use this as an outline? You could, but you're going to run into a lot of issues with this outline because it's still missing a lot of stuff. Now, I'm going to show you a different kind of outline, and I'm just so that you can kind of have a contrast here. So this one is for a different story. And this is a story that it's a demo that I do called Wings of Desire. And this is a psychological drama. Okay, a psychological drama. And it's a domestic thriller, psychological domestic drama, let's just call it. And the log line is in a wealthy lakeside suburb, a woman, Lila Carson, is trapped in a hollow marriage and she risks everything for a very hot affair. Okay, it says smoldering affair, but I really wanted to say a very hot affair, only to face a vengeful neighbor determined to expose her secrets. Okay, so that's my log line. Now, I have already told ChatGPT about the setting of my novel. It's set in a lakeside suburb in the early 2000s. It's the protagonist is Lila Carson. She's 47. She's having an affair. She's going to start an affair with a recently divorced carpenter, Jonah Garrett, and he becomes a lifeline for her, right? And that affair really threatens to destroy her entire life as she knows it. And she has been a homemaker her whole life, and her husband's a pilot, and he's always off in some trip, and she feels very alone because now she's an empty nester. And there's a subplot that I've added in here, right? So she's got a neighbor that wants to bring her down. This lady, Marianne Thornton, she just really hates Lila. And she's one of those teetotalers that is very righteous, and she's just got a bunch of skeletons in her closet. And I have built that subplot for her to have all these skeletons that we're later going to find out in the novel, right? So there's a subplot already that I've built in. I know what my themes are. I know what my takeaway is. So there is a very, very, very big difference, right? Just going into ChatGPT with your general idea and asking it to outline your novel, okay, and then kind of expanding on that versus you as the creator that you are coming up with all these different things, right? And you can brainstorm with ChatGPT if you want to, but you have to build the skeleton of your novel, right? All these things that I'm talking about here. And then you tell ChatGPT about this novel, right? So you have a project folder for ChatGPT for Wings of Desire, in my case, and ChatGPT already knows all about my novel. Now, I want to talk about this thing called prompt engineering, and that is really, really the crux of AI, right? Garbage in, garbage out. You guys saw I got a 3-act outline based on Save the Cat just by asking for an outline for that crazy novel, which actually sounds super funny. Now I kind of want to write it. And it gave me a 3-act, very loose outline, right? And all I asked it was, hey, can you help me outline this novel? Blah, 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 blah. This is what it's about. This is the log line. But it even invented characters for me that I hadn't even imagined myself. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to actually give ChatGPT this very detailed prompt. And this is what we call prompt engineering. Check this prompt out. Describe a moment that introduces the protagonist and their current life. What does their everyday world look like focus on showing the broader setting. Do you see how much richer that is? The broader setting, the tone, and themes of the story. Highlight key visual or sensory details to give a reader a vivid snapshot of the protagonist's world before the main conflict begins. Begin with an interesting scene that will engage the reader immediately using tension, curiosity, or a sense of foreboding to make the mundane feel compelling and irresistible while staying true to the tone and conventions of the stated genre. Do you guys see how complex that prompt is? It's a lot more complex than outline my novel, please. This is what it's about. Okay. So I'm going to grab that prompt and I am going to go to ChatGPT to my folder that I have dedicated to my novel, Wings of Desire. Now, remember, I have already told ChatGPT all about my novel. It's all in the project files under my Wings of Desire project in ChatGPT. It's got all my files, all my characters. It knows all about it. And now I'm going to ask it to outline my first scene because I don't want it to outline my whole novel. I want it to outline my first scene, and then I'm going to ask it to outline my next scene and my next scene, and so on and so forth. So check out this one scene that it's going to outline for me. This is scene 1. Okay. So I sent that prompt in, and it comes back with, here's the scene to write. The scene to write is Lila performs, that's the protagonist, she performs her nightly ritual of setting the perfect dinner table, but the emotional emptiness beneath the surface begins to crack. So that's the scene I'm going to write. Okay, so I got a one-liner scene, but it gets better. It's giving me setting details. It's giving me significant actions that the character can have. It's giving me emotional reactions that the character can have. It even gives me a subplot tie-in because it already knows my subplot, right? So it's telling me, hey, you should start hinting at your subplot here. So let's go over some of these because these are just phenomenal. Now imagine having an outline with all of this detail for 15 scenes that you can write from, right? And you can just switch and break it up and move things around and add things, but you have this very strong outline that you're going to sit with and start writing. Check this out. So the setting it's giving me for this first scene is a pristine lakefront home in an affluent suburb during the early 2000s. Check out the setting details. The golden hour sun filters through tall windows, glinting off polished wood floors and silver-rimmed china. The faint strains of Vivaldi fill the air. Now I can see things, I can hear things. Underscored by the scent of lemon polish, I can smell things, right? And expensive candles. This scene is cinematic and suffocating, a showcase of perfection teetering on the edge of collapse. I mean, imagine going to the page and sitting down knowing that you're going to write your first scene and your details are already there. I mean, it sounds a little bit generic. Of course, ChatGPT is a large language model. It's not going to write like you, but you're doing this to organize all your ideas so that you can have this very, very strong outline that you can now go and develop your story, right? So you're sitting in front of the page and you're like, yes, I'm going to have the scent of lemon. Maybe she's not listening to Vivaldi. Maybe she's listening to Nirvana or whoever your character is, right? Maybe she's a repressed emo from the 90s. I mean, you can make her whatever you want. But the point is that it's giving you a roadmap on all the things that writers should do in their first scene, right? Significant actions. Lila arranges flowers. She sets the table. She prepares wine with clinical precision, suggesting both control and detachment. Eric's laughter, right? That's her husband from another room, slices through the serene atmosphere, exposing the emotional divide in their marriage. Sophie, her daughter, enters the room unfiltered and casually dressed, creating a jarring contrast with Lila's curated setting and controlled demeanor, right? So you could see like all the different significant actions. How many times have you sat in front of your manuscript and you were like, she rolled her eyes, she crossed her arms, she raised an eyebrow, she put her hand on her hip? I mean, guys, we have AI to remind us that she can walk across the room with clinical precision and open up a bottle of wine and pour a glass. I mean, character actions is one of those things that drove me crazy when I was writing, because these are the kind of things that I don't want to spend a lot of time on. I want to spend a lot of time on plot. I want to spend a lot of time on my arc. I want to spend a lot of time on my subplot. I do not want to spend a lot of time on my character actions. And the fact of the matter is that back in the day, not so long ago, maybe last year, when manuscripts used to get picked up by publishers, guess what? There's a line editor. There's a line editor that is helping with all of these things, right? So now you have a map that, these are some significant actions, character actions that your protagonists or your characters can have. And then emotional actions that they can have in the scene, right? The act of hosting this dinner party feels hollow to her. The tension beneath the polished surfaces rises like steam under a lid, right? Like, maybe because, as we know, or if you don't know, if you're new to writing, every scene that we write has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So how beautiful that I know now, going into this scene, writing the scene, knowing that I'm going to start with this woman that is in this distress, and she's moving through the scene, and at the end it's like, maybe like steam is just, she blows up and says something to her husband, or uh maybe she insults one of her guests, right? Like, she's just like this ticking time bomb, and I would not have thought of that myself. Now I can sit down and write a very robust and rich scene. And check out the subplot tie-in. So Marianne Thornton is my subplot. She's the neighbor that wants to really just expose Lila. The main theme is the affair that she's having, right? So there's this current story with her neighbor that's running parallel to her main theme of the affair. And she's not at the dinner party, right? It says right here, maybe she's not at the dinner party, but the scene foreshadows her looming presence. Maybe she's looking from across the street, right, to see what's going on over at the Carsons, and she wasn't invited. Um, so it's great that it's reminding you that even though your subplot character is not present, hint at it. Maybe she's, watching through the window, maybe walking her dog, whatever. Things that you wouldn't have thought about. Things that you wouldn't have thought about so succinctly if you were manually outlining. Now, this is only scene one, you guys. Only scene one. So let's check. Um, let's just do a quick check on the other outline, right? The other outline, I mean, it didn't give us any of that detail. It was just like, opening image, protagonist Kate Morgan, 42, freshly divorced, suburban mom of two. Kate is lost in Target wearing yesterday's yoga pants. And I mean, that's all right, but it doesn't give you this very broad view of what a scene should look like. So I really like to use that other method. I like to go scene by scene to outline my novel. I don't like to just say, hey, outline my novel. And this is just a sample of how we do it at the AI Creative Writing Academy. So I hope that you enjoyed this demo, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I have weekly videos coming out every week. And if you are curious about ChatGPT and all that other stuff that you have heard about that is not so good, grab my free ebook, ChatGPT for Creative Writers, the No BS Myth Busting Manifesto. And it's going to be a quick read, and it'll debunk all the myths. And if you want to work with me, you can get on the waiting list for the AI Creative Writing Academy. Until next time, writer, keep on writing.